Welcome back to We Want Picks. I am Artem MMA and I cannot wait to start talking about One Fight Night 10 Johnson versus Moraes 3. This is truly going to be a special card for One. If you've never heard of One, if you've never even seen a One FC event, they are a massive organization in Asia. Most of their events take place in Thailand or Singapore, and for the very first time they are going to be putting on an event in the USA. And they are not holding back. They are truly trying to show the American and international audience what One is all about in this card here. And I genuinely can't wait to start talking about it. Of course, headlining it is Demetrious Johnson taking on Adriano Moraes for the third time. This is a massive trilogy, which I'll talk about in the main event. Rodtang is on the card, their Muay Thai champion. That's right, they've got more than just one sport on this card and in the promotion. On this card, they've got grappling, Muay Thai, and MMA. So for those MMA fans, you get to watch some MMA. For the MMA fans that like the striking, you get to watch some Muay Thai, and I've never seen a boring Muay Thai fight in One ever. And you can also watch some grappling as well if you're a grappling fan, because on the grappling card, or grappling part of the card, is Mikey Musmeci, multiple time Jiu-Jitsu world champion. He's a fantastic grappler. I will talk about him when we get around there. Fairtex is also going to be fighting in MMA. She is another one of One's superstars, and she is very well known for dancing on her way into the cage. Roberto Soldic is a fantastic prospect that the UFC should have picked up when he left KSW. If you don't know, he's 1-1 with Dricus du Plessis. It would have been fun to have the trilogy finalized in the UFC, but he's going to be taking on Zebaztian Kadestam, who doesn't have the best record in the world, but he's got 12 wins by knockout. Roberto Soldic has 17 wins by knockout. That's a combined 29 wins by KO and 34 wins between the two. It's absolutely ridiculous. Sage Northcutt fights for the first time in about 3 years, which is going to be pretty big because Sage Northcutt, you know, he had that run in the UFC and then he went over to One. He got injured. I'll talk about it a little bit later on. Aung Sung, maybe not too well known, but Aung Sung did come up in the USA and he did train in the USA for, I believe, most of his career, but he's a former 2-time champion, and he actually lost both of his bouts to Reinier, who's going to be taking on Ruotolo, who is a teenage grappling sensation. This guy is younger than me, and he's making me look silly, dude. This guy has accomplished so much at such a young age, and he's taking on Reinier in a grappling tournament, or a grappling fight, sorry. Reinier is the former 2-time champion. He did lose one of his belts recently, and he is a grappler. That's his style. So Ruotolo wanted to fight him, or it was more so either way. But now we're finally getting it settled. You've got a couple of fights early on in the card as well. Let's just get kind of straight into the predictions. But before we do that, you know how it do be. Right there is the We Want Picks website, We Want Picks Premium. If you want to check out the We Want Picks Premium, I actually have already made a massive article on One FC, and you can kind of see it here. There's a lot to go through. I talked about Cage Warriors as well. If you want access to that, definitely sign up to the Premium. You can get a 3-day free trial by signing up using my code Artem. And let's just get straight into the predictions. I know that was a very long intro, but there's just a lot to talk about. This is a massive card for One, and I did kind of want to introduce One in the intro of the video, so now we can finally get into the predictions. Now, the first fight of the night is going to be a very interesting one because it is between Lowen Tynanes and Yoon. Lowen Tynanes is going to be the local fighter in this matchup because he is from the USA. He was born in the USA as well. But Yoon would be the much more popular fighter if this fight was in Thailand, for example, because he is a former One FC champion. He actually does hold a win over former UFC and Bellator champion Eddie Alvarez as well, who recently just fought as well, actually. But after that as well, he then defeated Christian Lee in what was an upset victory for the title, and it was a very good performance for him. He was kind of able to nullify the best things that Christian Lee can do, which is power punch and double leg takedowns, but Yoon then did end up losing to Christian Lee in the rematch. Yoon, though, is his first fight since losing to Christian Lee and to losing the bout, but I do think that he should be able to beat Lowen Tynanes here. I like Yoon to win a decision. Yoon doesn't really finish guys, so if you can bet him, I would just bet him by decision. You don't really see this guy finishing anyone. He's got 4 wins by KO, 1 by submission, but his last win inside the distance was in 2020 against a 9-10 opponent. So I don't think Yoon will be able to finish Lowen Tynanes. Both guys kind of have similar styles, but I would say Lowen Tynanes is more wrestle and grapple heavy. You did see that in his last fight against Daesung Park, where Lowen Tynanes was able to take down Daesun Park and have a lot of success by being on his back. Daesun Park spent a long time on that fight defending a rear naked choke from Tynanes, and it was interesting that someone did score that fight for Daesun Park. You see it as a split decision there. If you don't know, one doesn't actually have the 10-point must system. The way that they score the MMA fights is they score the fights as a whole. So you don't have a 10-9 round, like let's say no one's going to win a fight 30-27. They're just going to be the outright winner of the fight. The judge just decides who they think won the whole fight as a whole, and judging on that criteria, I really do think Lowen Tynanes won that fight. It was an odd split decision loss. But the thing about Tynanes, man, this guy does not fight often enough. He's fought five times in the last 7.5 years, pretty much. And he just hasn't really been able to stay active. He took about 3 years off, and then he took about 2 years off. You know, he's just not as active as Reinier, who hasn't been the most active fighter himself, but he did manage to become a 1FC champion, which is something that Lowen Tynanes probably does have the ability to do. But it just hasn't been active enough to be able to pull it off. But I do have Reinier to win a decision in this matchup. To talk about the odds though, just real quick before we leave, is Lowen Tynanes is plus 150 and Reinier is minus 175 on DraftKings right now. I like Reinier. I like Reinier by decision as well. And now the next fight of the night is a very interesting one. You've got Kairat Akhmetov taking on Reece McLaren, and this is actually a rematch. This is the second time that these two have fought, and for Kairat Akhmetov, it wasn't really too long ago in his career. He fought Reece McLaren 4 years ago, and has only fought 3 times since, but for Reece McLaren, that was a long time ago because he has fought a lot since then, and he's beaten a lot of really good opponents, and he usually always is the underdog. He always beats guys who he's not really expected to beat, and you can see that Kairat Akhmetov fight there in 2019, he then lost to Danny Kingdad, but he bounced back with a couple of wins and a couple of losses. Kairat Akhmetov after that fight kind of just never really fought again, but I believe it is for Kairat Akhmetov. Well, he did fight, he fought 3 times, but just not as active as Reece McLaren has been, and I believe the reason for Akhmetov, I could be wrong, is because he does have a very bad injury that he had prior to becoming the champion. He had a very bad back injury, and I feel like maybe the reason why he's taking so much time off in between these fights is because of that reason, but I could be wrong. But to talk about Kairat Akhmetov, he does actually have a very good wrestling background. I was watching one of their fights, and one of the commentators said that he was a world champion in wrestling. I personally couldn't find that. All I could find was that he was a multiple-time national wrestling champion, and he also did win a couple of like kickboxing or taekwondo regional events as well when he was up and coming in MMA. But Reece McLaren, you know, Reece McLaren is probably mainly a striker, but he can grapple as well, and actually in their first fight that they had, which Kairat Akhmetov did win by decision, Reece McLaren was trying to take him down at points, and actually what did happen was Kairat Akhmetov rocked him, and then Reece McLaren tried to take him down. But overall, I think that Kairat Akhmetov really did control the fight, and he did win the decision. Akhmetov couldn't really use the wrestling to as much success as he probably wanted to, because he did go for a lot of takedowns that were defended by McLaren, but on the feet, Akhmetov was landing some very good shots on McLaren. He was able to drop him, and he was able to rock him. On paper, it is a little bit of a weird rematch, you know what I mean? But I feel like these guys, if they win this fight, they're probably very close to fighting the winner of the main event, Demetrious Johnson versus Adriano Moraes, because Reece McLaren, he has fought for the title before. Kairat Akhmetov, he has been a champion before, and he actually has fought Adriano Moraes. But in this matchup, I am still going to go with Kairat Akhmetov. I am going to go with the guy that won the first fight. Most people are too. He probably will win a decision. I can't see Kairat Akhmetov being able to finish Reece McLaren. So if we do look at the odds there, it is very wide as well. Kairat Akhmetov is minus 365, and Reece McLaren, you can get him at plus 300. But for a very big plus 300 underdog, Reece McLaren might like be able to pull something off here, because Kairat Akhmetov, man, he just hasn't been fighting like at all, you know, and Reece McLaren, he's been active, you know, he hasn't really been beating the guys the level of Kairat Akhmetov, but man, Reece McLaren has been beating some great guys in one. I do have Kairat though. I think he should be able to win by decision. He should be able to, in my opinion. I'm actually expecting Kairat Akhmetov to have more success in the wrestling in this one here. I think he should be able to get Reece McLaren down. I think he should be able to control on top as well. and I think he should be able to win a decision that way. So I've got Akhmetov, and I do think he's going to get it done, but maybe Reece McLaren can do something crazy, but I do like Akhmetov using the wrestling and even the striking as well, because he was hurting Reece in their first fight. As we move up the card, we've got our first Muay Thai fight of the night with this women's Muay Thai fight here, women's flyweight. Jackie Buntan taking on Diandra Martin. I'm personally not too familiar with these two, and I will be honest about that, but it should be a good matchup, and I do think Jackie Buntan will win. She has actually got some very good wins in her career. She beat Nat Jarunsak, who is also known as Wonder Girl Fairtex, and Nat Jarunsak was a two-time Muay Thai champion before that matchup, and then she went on to win a few more fights. A win over Amber Kitchen, which is a shared opponent with Jackie Buntan. You go to with Diandra Martin, who has also beaten Amber Kitchen. You go over to Jackie Buntan's Wikipedia. Her professional Muay Thai record is 4-1, but she does have a 20-5 amateur Muay Thai record. You go over to Diandra Martin. Her professional Muay Thai record is 11-3, and she does actually hold a win over Jacinta Austin in Muay Thai. And Jacinta Austin is an up-and-coming Australian MMA fighter who is having a lot of success in her own career. But I do think that Jackie Buntan will win this matchup by decision. I am not a Muay Thai expert. You can't actually consult the public on the Muay Thai fights on Tapology either, but I think she should win. She is a -210 favourite, and she is favoured to win the matchup. -210 to Diandra Martin, who is sitting at +180 on DraftKings right now, but I do think that Buntan wins a decision. Let's now move up the card. And this next fight is going to be promoted as a grappling super fight between Reinier de Ridder taking on Ruotolo. And Reinier de Ridder, you may know him from his time in MMA because he is the current light heavyweight champion of ONE FC in MMA, and he was the former light heavyweight and heavyweight champion in MMA as well. And now he's going to be taking on Ruotolo in a submission grappling matchup. And it's very interesting because Ruotolo, as I said in the intro, he's younger than me. He's literally, I believe he's a teenager or he's 20 years old, one of the two. And he's already become a BJJ world champion. In 2022, he won the 2022 IBJJF World Jiu-Jitsu Championship in the USA. And also in 2022, he became a bronze medalist in the 2022 ADCC Submission Fighting World Championship. So already he has had a pretty storied career in grappling and BJJ, and if you do look into it, I believe he has like a 29-10 record in submission grappling. That could be incorrect, but that is what I was able to find when I was writing up my my article for We Want Picks. I found Reinier de Ridder. I believe he's got a draw, just one draw. That's his kind of grappling record. But if you do look into Reinier de Ridder, you can see that he is a two-time European silver medalist in BJJ in 2017 and 2016, and I do believe that was at black belt, or maybe it was at purple belt. But Reinier de Ridder does have submission grappling experience himself. I believe Ruotolo called out Reinier de Ridder to kind of really show who is the best grappler, and that's kind of what they're fighting for in this matchup. It should actually be a pretty interesting submission grappling fight, because there is like a little bit of bad blood. I think it's kind of like friendly sort of a beef there going on, but it should be a pretty interesting matchup. And what makes the matchup so interesting is Ruotolo is a -950 favorite to defeat Reinier de Ridder in the submission grappling event here, whereas Reinier de Ridder is sitting at +650. Reinier de Ridder's got fantastic BJJ and grappling when it comes to MMA, but it's time to find out like how good is Reinier de Ridder's grappling when he takes on a pure grappler and a pure submission grappler in Ruotolo. We're about to find out. I'm going to go Ruotolo as well. -950 favorite. We're talking about a world champion here as well at such a young age. Reinier de Ridder, he's been focusing on MMA a bit. This is kind of like a bit of a fun sort of fight for him, I would say. Maybe just a little bit of a break from MMA, but it should be a good fight. Should be very interesting as well. And now we've got Aung taking on Rong Fan, and this should be a pretty fun fight in MMA. And I believe Aung will be able to win this matchup, and I think it probably will be a majority striking matchup as well, which Aung does quite like, because we have seen Aung struggle in the grappling, albeit against Reinier when he come and took both of his belts off him, but he has bounced back with a 3-1 run since then over a couple of older guys, but Aung isn't getting any younger himself, which is what makes it interesting that he's a minus 500 favorite to defeat Rong Fan in this matchup, because Rong Fan, he's an up-and-coming guy, he's not even 30 years old yet, and he's going to be dangerous, you know what I mean? Rong Fan, he's got a lot of finishes on his record, he is 2-2 in 1, and I believe Aung is going to be the toughest opponent he's ever faced in MMA. So I think Aung should be able to win this one here. Aung, if you don't know, he is quite the icon in Myanmar. There is a bronze statue of Aung in Myanmar, and thousands of people gathered for that statue reveal, I guess you could say. But Aung, for most of his career, or almost all of his career, I believe he has actually trained in the USA for Killcliff FC as well, as you can see on his topology. And I believe he probably will be known to the American audience as well, because Aung has actually spent his regional career in the USA, and then he come over to one, he become the champion, and now he's taking on Rong Fan. It should be a very fun, striking fight. I believe Aung can keep it on the feet. I believe Aung can win the fight on the feet as well. So I do think he should be able to get it done. And at 205 pounds as well, he's a powerful dude. Everyone's kind of going with KO here. I like Aung to win the matchup. I like him to be able to beat Rong Fan. Rong Fan just has not really fought this level of competition in his MMA career. You know, he come in, he was fighting not the best guys on the Chinese regional scene. He lost to Reinier. That does happen though. And then he took on Sheriff Muhammad, and then he took on Yuri Samos, who was making his debut, but he had a very prestigious grappling background coming into that matchup. And shout out to Yuri Samos, because imagine fighting an 18-2 guy in your MMA debut. That's insane. And then he did get submitted by Vitaly Bigdash. There is a pretty big hole in Rong Fan and Aung game, kind of in the grappling. Aung has shown much better grappling in the rematch with Reinier, where he wasn't able to get submitted, with Doretta kind of controlling him for most of the fight. But I like the fight to be on the feet, and I like Aung to be able to win this matchup as well at 205 pounds. And now we've got Sage Northcutt making his very long-awaited return against Ahmed Mujtaba. It has actually been a very long time since we last saw Sage Northcutt in the cage. It was actually not 3 years ago. It was about 4 years ago. It's a long, long time away for Sage Northcutt. But what kind of happened in that fight was he was signed by one off UFC, and he fought an older Cosmo Alejandro, who was an absolute beast of a kickboxer. And I don't know if you guys know, but that knockout from Cosmo Alejandro kind of broke like Sage's face. Like a very large proportion of his face was broken, and he had, I believe, 8 fractures in his face, and he's had surgeries and stuff, and it's all fixed, and now he's good to go. But man, that was a scary time for Sage Northcutt. It really was. And now he's back. He's finally back, and it's interesting to see, because Sage Northcutt has been able to make a career outside of MMA, it seems. But hey, maybe he just loves the sport, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's going to be fighting Ahmed Mujtaba this weekend. What's so interesting though about this fight though is Ahmed Mujtaba could be the best underdog on the card. He really could be, because if you do look at the odds, Sage Northcutt, after 4 years away, is sitting at minus 225, and Ahmed Mujtaba is plus 190. And I feel like maybe people see Sage Northcutt's name, they might even make that wider. The pick is Sage Northcutt, and I will get into the breakdown, but hey, Ahmed Mujtaba really could be like the lock of the week, as Jacob might say. Like, Ahmed Mujtaba really could be a good underdog, but the reason why I'm not picking Ahmed here is he's just not that technical. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not really a technical fighter. Nothing he really does is with great technique. It's very interesting as well, because if you look through his career, he has fought at featherweight in the past, which is insane. Because you look at him at 170, he's not undersized at 170 at all. And against Abrao Amorim, I actually thought he looked really big for 170 pounds, but he fought Jiao and Ma at 155, and all of these fights, I believe, were at 145. And it's interesting, you know what I mean, because he fought Rahul Raju, who didn't really look like he knew what he was doing, honestly. So Mujtaba just slipped him easily. And then he took on Abrao Amorim, who's I believe a multiple time grappling champion. I believe he had a black belt in BJJ, and I think he was like a former world champion in BJJ as well. I could be wrong. And Ahmed Mujtaba managed to sub him, which is very impressive. But everything Ahmed Mujtaba does that I watch, it's just not that technical. He's not a very technical striker. You can kind of see everything he's throwing coming. And for someone like Sage Northcutt, that's probably a pretty good thing for him coming back into this matchup. And I feel like this is just a win-win fight for one, because Ahmed Mujtaba probably is the best fighter that's ever come out of Pakistan. I believe he probably is Pakistan's like best chance at like a superstar in MMA, or just like a great MMA fighter. So if Ahmed Mujtaba beats Sage Northcutt, all of a sudden Pakistan's gonna have a star, and people like from around that area of the world love to support their fighters and their athletes. So I feel like that would be great for Ahmed Mujtaba's career. But for Sage Northcutt, if he wins, he's back in the game. You know what I mean? He's back fighting, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. But Sage Northcutt wouldn't come back if he didn't think he was ready. You know what I mean? I know that's a pretty weird reason to pick someone, but this is a good matchup for Sage Northcutt, it is. Ahmed Mujtaba, he's going to want to strike with Sage. He can go for takedowns as well, but he's only really ever gone for takedowns when he's either hurt or tired. And Sage Northcutt, man, like with his karate style, with his kickboxing base as well, and like kind of weary, like how the way he fought in the UFC as well, which was years ago. Like we're talking a long time ago now. He should be able to see everything Mujtaba's throwing at him coming. He really should. And I think that Northcutt should be able to win this matchup. I don't know if he can find a finish. We're talking about a guy that hasn't fought in 4 years, and now he's 27 years old. He could come out here and look like a completely different fighter. Like, he could come out here looking so different. With 4 years of training, he genuinely could look absolutely nothing like the guy that fought Zach Otto, or the guy that fought the Bolt Goatee, who's actually now kind of on a career resurgence, actually, but that's besides the point. I think that Northcutt will win. Who knows how? And I don't know if I'd want to bet Sage Northcutt off a 4-year layoff. And I think I spent a long time talking about this fight, but it's just such an interesting one with Sage Northcutt coming back. And now we move on to a fight I am very excited for, because Roberto Soldic is going to be fighting in ONE and in the USA as well, which is going to be very interesting. But Roberto Soldic, you know, he had a very unsuccessful ONE debut, I guess you could say, with the groin strike there, and the fight couldn't continue. It didn't even last a round, so there was a no contest on Soldic's record. But now he takes on Zebaztian Kadestam. This is an interesting fight because Zebaztian Kadestam is obviously expected to lose, but Zebaztian Kadestam wins every fight he is expected to lose. It is crazy. You go through this guy's career. His whole career is kind of him just beating guys he wasn't meant to. He beat the 8-1 Agilan Thani, 11-0 Tyler Maguire, 20-5 Georgie Kachin, and then he lost 3 in a row. But then he come back and he got back into it with 2 first-round KOs over Valmar da Silva and Ayari Lapicus. Now, Ayari Lapicus unfortunately isn't with us anymore, so my respects do go out to his family and his friends. But now we move on to the Roberto Soldic side. Soldic should have been signed by the UFC. His KSW contract kind of expired around this period of time when he beat Khaladov, and the UFC just didn't pick him up. But they are more than happy to pick up Dricus du Plessis, who he is 1-1 with, which is a very interesting situation, because now Dricus du Plessis is ranked number 4 in the 185-pound division, and potentially could be fighting for a title very soon if he can get past Robert Whittaker. And Roberto Soldic has beaten Dricus du Plessis. It's just one of those fights, man, where Roberto Soldic just should have been signed to the UFC, but he hasn't. Now he takes on Zebaztian Kadestam. I am very confident Soldic gets it done. The odds are very confident Soldic gets it done as well. You get Roberto Soldic at minus 435 to Zebaztian Kadestam at plus 350. This is one of those fights, man. As I said, Zebaztian Kadestam, if he's going to win the fight, it will probably be a fight like this, a fight he's not expected to win. But I like Soldic to win by knockout. I like Soldic to win inside the distance. Soldic has beaten and knocked out better competition than Zebaztian Kadestam. So I do like Soldic to get it done. I like Soldic to get the knockout as well. But if Zebaztian Kadestam gets a knockout, like it could be a massive upset, honestly, because it's not like something he's never done before. But I really do believe Soldic gets this one done. And now we move up the card to Stamp Fairtex taking on Alyse Anderson, and I do believe Stamp Fairtex will win this matchup here. Stamp Fairtex is a great MMA fighter, but she's also a great kickboxer as well, because if you do go through her career, she has fought in kickboxing and Muay Thai 4-1 before. She's actually fought her entire career as a professional 4-1 in MMA and kickboxing and Muay Thai. It's actually quite interesting, and she has fought fighters that you will definitely recognize, like Lowen, who's been kind of doing these random boxing and bare knuckle fights. Recently, she's lost to Angela Lee as well. She fought Anna Jarunsak, who fought her on short notice, and honestly, potentially could have won that fight in the kickboxing. But I think this is a good fight for Stamp Fairtex. I think one knows what they're doing with this fight. They want Stamp Fairtex to win this fight because Stamp Fairtex is one of their most popular fighters on the roster, which is why it's such a big deal that one have her on this card in the USA in their debut. And I just think she's going to be able to beat Alyse Anderson, who hasn't really shown the ability to beat Stamp Fairtex. Is kind of just what it comes down to. You know, she never really fought the best level of competition in Invicta FC, albeit that was a very long time ago. But I just don't think Alyse Anderson's going to be able to take Stefax down to the mat, and on the feet, it really is going to be night and day because Stamp Fairtex truly is that good of a striker in MMA. And even then, Stamp Fairtex does actually have a couple of wins by submission herself. Both of her losses in MMA are by submission, so it definitely is maybe a work in progress, but I think Stamp Fairtex can keep this on the feet. I think she can win this by decision. I wouldn't be that surprised if Fairtex lands something crazy and gets a KO as well, because Fairtex has managed to get 3 knockouts in the first round as well in her MMA career. But I think this is a fight which one is expecting Stamp Fairtex to win, and I'm also expecting Stamp Fairtex to win. I think she should be able to get it done over Alyse Anderson in this matchup here. Forgot to go over the odds for the last Stamp Fairtex fight, so I will just go over that right now. Stamp Fairtex is minus 330 and Alyse Anderson is plus 275. Now we move on to the next grappling match on the card, and this is like probably another grappling super fight. Mikey Musmeci taking on Osamah Almarwai, and if you look at Mikey Musmeci's grappling pedigree, this guy has kind of won everything there is to win. If you kind of just hide my overlay there, and you look down below me, this is his Wikipedia page. Multiple time world championship for BJJ, IBJJF. He's a no-gi championship for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, no-gi, Pan-American champion, European champion, Abu Dhabi World Pro Jiu-Jitsu champion as well. And as I said, this guy has kind of won everything there is to win when it comes to grappling. And Osamah Almarwai is also a great grappler himself here. You see in 2022, he won the World No-Gi BJJ Championship. He's won the Pan IBJJF Jiu-Jitsu No-Gi Championship as well. And he actually is, I believe, the first Middle Eastern world champion in... He's the first black belt IBJJF world championship from Yemen and the Middle East. There you go. But that's kind of what it is to know about this matchup in the grappling, because there is a lot like going on here. You know, like there's a lot of championships on the line. Not on the line, sorry. All that's on the line in this matchup is the one bantamweight grappling championship at 135 pounds. But you can tell that these guys have fought at the highest level. They've won at the highest level. They've won gold medalists at the highest level. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a great grappling matchup. As you guys can tell, I'm not really a grappling expert, which is kind of why I'm just going off their accolades. But it should be a good matchup. And if you look at the odds, they're very, very wide again, because Mikey Musmeci is minus 950 to defeat Osamah Almarwai, who is sitting at plus 650. So very wide odds, for this grappling matchup. But I do think, yeah, maybe Mikey Musmeci can win. You know, he's won a fair few world championships in his time, but that's crazy. Mikey Musmeci, very, very good grappler, and so is Osamah Almarwai. It should be a very cool event, a very cool fight as well. Now we're up to the co-main event, and this is a big one because Rodtang is a superstar and he's taking on Edgar Tavares, who's actually making his one debut. But one interesting fact about Rodtang is that he has an incredible amount of fights. I believe Rodtang has a kickboxing record, or a Muay Thai record, sorry, of like 270 wins and 42 losses and 10 draws and he's 25 years old. That is absolutely insane. And also, one thing you can say about Rodtang is this guy is not in boring fights. I don't think Rodtang will ever be in a boring fight, man. This guy's fighting style is crazy exciting. He's got an insane chin. You can see him kind of taunting his opponents all the time. He'll put his hands behind his back, his hands by his sides. He'll smack his chin around, and he'll eat unanswered shots on purpose to kind of show off how crazy his chin is. It's ridiculous. This guy truly is one of the most entertaining fighters in the world, regardless of the sport, but especially in Muay Thai, I would say Rodtang is up there, and that is why he is a superstar for one. He really is truly well known. He fought Demetrious Johnson in that mixed custom rules bout, which was very fun and exciting, but if you do kind of look into the matchup, Edgar Tabarez probably isn't going to be someone that he's just going to roll over. Edgar Tabarez, I believe his Muay Thai record is 32 wins, 1 loss, 5 draws. And if you do look into his career, I will hide my thingy here on 1FC. He's a WBC Muay Thai International Champion, and I believe he was the first ever Mexican WBC International or Muay Thai Champion as well, which is very interesting. But you look into Rodtang, you look at it as an absolutely insane record in Muay Thai. Obviously not all of it is documented here on Wikipedia, but it is crazy. This guy has so much experience. He's got so many fights for one as well, and he's fought so many good guys, and he's beaten so many good guys as well, because sorry guys, I'm just gonna give me 1 second, fix this up on my computer. You go into Rodtang's thing here, you scroll through, look at all of these Muay Thai matchups on Tapology as well. He fought Demetrious Johnson in that custom rules bout, as I kind of mentioned before. And he's so good, dude. I think he's going to be able to beat Edgar Tabarez. The odds suggest that he's going to be able to destroy Edgar Tabarez, because Rodtang is minus 750 and Edgar Tabarez is plus 550. But this is going to be a fun fight because, as I said, I have never seen a boring Muay Thai fight in one, and I've never seen a boring Rodtang fight as well. This guy truly is like a superstar, and he's 25 years old, and he's a great Muay Thai fighter, and be interesting to see the matchup as well, especially against a WBC champion. Obviously, I don't really know what that means in the Muay Thai world, but when it comes to one, Rodtang is the champion, and he has beaten a lot of good competition in the Muay Thai world for one. And now we're in the main event. You've got Demetrious Johnson fighting what may be his retirement fight against Adriano Moraes. Demetrious Johnson has hinted at potentially retiring after this event. It will be very interesting to see what happens. And Adriano Moraes has said that this is his final shot at becoming a champion. He doesn't think he will get a title shot again if he manages to lose this fight. So there's a lot on the line here, and I will just give you the odds early before I start talking about the matchup. Demetrious Johnson is a little bit wider than I would have expected. He is minus 175, and Adriano Moraes is plus 150. Now, this matchup, man, these guys do not look like they're in the same weight class. Adriano Moraes is massive compared to Demetrious Johnson. He is truly so much bigger than Demetrious Johnson in their fights. And it really does kind of make you think about the hydration testing that one does. But that's a completely different story. I mean, there's a lot of different opinions on that subject. But Demetrious Johnson is a lot smaller than Adriano Moraes. But it doesn't kind of go without saying, I guess is the terminology there. Demetrious Johnson's the more skilled fighter. He really is. You watch this guy fight, you watch Demetrious Johnson fight in the matchups. Demetrious Johnson is truly more skilled than Adriano Moraes. But what Adriano Moraes does have over Demetrious Johnson is being so much bigger than Johnson. Like, DJ really has to work if he ever wants to get Moraes down to the ground. And he's really got to do something crazy if he wants to land clean on Adriano Moraes as well every single time, because he's so different in size. Adriano Moraes, you look through his career, he is a fantastic grappler, but he did lose to Demetrious Johnson by a flying knee knockout in the 4th round, which is actually the way that he managed to defeat Demetrious Johnson the first time. That was almost exactly the same. Demetrious Johnson, I believe he was dropped, and he was kind of on the ground, and then he got knee to the head, because knees to the head to a grounded opponent are legal in one. And Adriano Moraes managed to knock him out with that knee, and it was a very big upset, because I believe Demetrious Johnson was a huge favourite to win that fight. And then he fought Rodtang, and then he come back and he got the win over Adriano Moraes, and a great win with kind of a very similar knee that he knocked out Adriano Moraes with. I actually am picking Demetrious Johnson in this fight, but minus 175 is pretty wide in my personal opinion for this fight, because it truly is super close. And if you look at Adriano Moraes' career way early on, like, he's fought good guys himself, you know what I mean? He's not fighting to guys that aren't great. Like, he fought Ismail Bonfim, who's now a lightweight in the UFC, in his pro debut. Obviously, that was a different period of time, but he did just defeat the 23-0 at the time Kairat Akhmetov, and he beat the 7-0 at the time Danny Kingdad as well, and then obviously he did end up defeating Demetrious Johnson. Now, I've got DJ. I think DJ's the more skilled fighter in this matchup. I think Adriano Moraes is much bigger though, and does have a very good opportunity to potentially finish Demetrious Johnson in the fight. But I just got to go with DJ, man. You just got to. You know what I mean? Will I be putting money on Demetrious Johnson? Maybe not. But a 36-year-old Demetrious Johnson, he's still looking good. He's still fighting. He's fought good opponents as well. In the one, he's fought great opponents in the UFC as well. It kind of goes without saying, but yeah, you look at the people, man. The people like Johnson, but I feel like the people like Johnson because they want him to win. 94% on Demetrious Johnson is crazy, but I'm gonna go with Demetrious Johnson, and I'm gonna go with Demetrious Johnson by decision. He probably was on his way to winning a decision against Adriano Moraes the first time before he did manage to find the KO in the 4th round. But he looked so good in that fight, and he looked like he truly learned a lot. Honestly, it's weird. Like, Demetrious Johnson's such a skilled fighter, one of the greatest of all times, but it really did look like Demetrious Johnson had gone back to the drawing board, learned what he did wrong in the first Adriano Moraes fight, and made improvements on top of what his already great skill set is. And I think he will continue to do that against Adriano Moraes, because I do emphasize, and I do say it, Demetrious Johnson is the more skilled fighter in this matchup, and I do think he can beat Adriano Moraes. Now, let me know what you think about my picks. Let me know what you think of my predictions. I didn't pick any underdogs on the card, and I do apologize for that, but I don't make picks based on odds. I just pick people that I think are going to win. And in this fight card, and in the PFL coming up as well, it kind of feels like the favourites are going to win, like in every single fight. So keep an eye out for the PFL in a fair few weeks now. Bellator, I believe, next week is on as well. But this is such a big weekend for MMA and combat sports in general, because you've got ONE FC, you've got UFC 288, you've got Canelo fighting in Mexico as well, and you've got a lot of other regional promotions on as well. You've got Cage Warriors happening in Rome, Italy, which is kind of cool. But yeah, this is gonna be a good event, and I'm really looking forward to it. Let me know what you do think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.